Sean, what can professionals and especially leaders do to prepare for that future of work in terms of technology, services, tools? Don't make everything a default 1 hour Outlook meeting. I hear you. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think one of the most important things is outside of the collaboration tools and what app you're going to use to get a given job done. I think one of the things that COVID has really highlighted about the way that we build technology is that the technology we built over the course of the last 20, 30 years has been all about a premise-centric implementation of technology. So everybody talks about the campus and the network and all these types of things. And even a lot of the security tooling we've built around these things is, perimeter firewalls and all these types of things. And then as soon as the people aren't in those places, all of a sudden you go, oh, well, that model doesn't work anymore. I can't put the security boundary around the data center or around the office or whatever the case may be. I need to be more adaptable. I need to have that security follow the user and the device and those types of things. So I think that's going to be a big transformational thing that organizations have to come to grips with. And there is a security principle called zero trust that many organizations are beginning to migrate towards, which says it's not about the data center. It's not about the corporate network. It's not about the VPN. It's getting these bits of data out to the edge where it needs to be used by the user and still applying security controls to it. The other element of that too that plays very well into this that I think a lot of organizations struggle with for COVID is you got a bunch of computers sitting in your office, or you have a provisioning technology for how computers get built, where an IT person touches the laptop and does a bunch of things to it. But what do you do when the IT person is in the office to touch the laptop? And then you don't want people touching somebody else's laptop because there's a pandemic going on. I think it brought to light for a lot of people that the way we used to provision devices for users doesn't work in a distributed workforce and in a pandemic scenario. So what that's brought to light for a lot of people is devices have to be able to be shipped from the factory directly into the user's hands, or they pick up an existing device they already own for personally and provision the corporate resources to it. Don't bring the computer to the company and provision it. Bring the tech to the computer wherever it is.
Toppy, you deal with this all the time at Kraft Heinz. What sorts of gaps or problems have been illuminated, whether it's in provisioning machines or other opportunities? What are you seeing?
And actually, I've got to say, I think Sean and Todd did a great job of teeing me up, especially talking around the way we meet, because actually, first of all, Shivani, you said, I wrote it down, never squander a crisis. And actually, I always say chaos creates opportunity. I'm really, really for that. I think when there's so much instability, there's a lot of opportunity there. So yeah, back to Sean and Todd. I really loved what you said about the way we meet, because actually it speaks to my earlier principle about taking things from the physical environment to the virtual space and only taking what works. And actually, we're doing a huge effort now and a big push around the way we meet, the way we collaborate together. Actually, not everything needs to be a formal meeting. How are we utilizing the tools that we have that we can make decisions outside of these formal meetings? Because I actually hate it when people say, let me get half an hour in your diary, let me get an hour in your diary. And I think, God, isn't this just a quick decision? Do I really need to be there? Am I the decision maker, or should I be kept informed? And I would say that is one of the biggest things that's came out about what's this meeting etiquette. Even when we talk to like video fatigue as well, actually, why do we need to meet via video? Do we always need to do that? And I think for me, one of the biggest things that I'm taking out of this is the ability to challenge the status quo. Sean, I loved what you mentioned about how laptops are repaired and provisioned to users. We need to be able to be comfortable challenging the status quo and leaning into this area of discomfort and uncertainty. I've realized that, something's not uncertain if you are informed and if you're kept engaged. Sometimes you're happy to go on this journey when you don't know where the direction is, but everybody's coming on it together. So yeah, that's one of the key takeouts I would say at Kraft Heinz right now.
Toppy, one thing that you said that made me think of another thing that I want to talk about in terms of fatigue and productivity that a lot of people aren't spending a lot of time talking about is this notion that information comes at you from so many different sources. Even for organizations that have standardized on a particular tool, whether that be Zoom, whether that be Slack, whether that be Teams, whatever the case may be, the harsh reality is every employee has 6 or 7 tools that they're using to communicate with people. They're getting messages on their text message on their phone, on their WhatsApp, on their Teams or Slack, on their email. And there is a certain amount of overload that people are both stressed because they have to respond to 6 different mediums, and
Right.
B, the overall frustration of I can't find what I'm looking for because I don't know which island that information is tucked away in. That's a very real problem for today's world.